Hey, everybody. It's David Swor here once again with another episode of Frenemies with my good buddy here, DJ Cox. And good to see you, DJ. It's been kind of a crazy week this week with everything going on in baseball. Had a major trade happen. Some major free agents finally came off the board. And so it's going to be interesting. DJ, the Mets finally heard your call last week and made a move. A
It's
pretty
about
big
time.
move.
It's about time.
Let's talk about that real quick. So Lindor and Carrasco to the Mets for Rosario, Jimenez, and two prospects. What do you think about that, DJ?
Well, I think that the Mets made a great move, and it's about time because I was getting a little impatient with them from the last podcast, as you could tell. But I'm telling you, man, this is a great move in the right direction. It's a very smart move by the Mets. If you got that money, you got to start spending it, and boy, did they spend it. They got a top shortstop in the game. But David, they also got a pretty good pitcher to go in that rotation, man. And this is going to make them look pretty good for the next few years to come, no doubt. Their new rotation becomes DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, David Peterson, and Matz. If Matz can get back onto his old Steven Matz, then he's going to be a good pitcher. If not, then we'll see. But and then the next year you add Syndergaard back into that mix, or sometime later, maybe in this season, depending on how he's feeling. And all of a sudden you've got a pretty good staff there. So yeah, what a great move, man. And to be honest with you, man, the Indians, I just don't have a clue what they're doing, what they're thinking. I can't really figure them out.
DJ, I got to stop you. Because I was getting ready to say, although I think the package was a little bit light, but keep this in mind. Rosario still only 25, wants a top 100 prospect. Jimenez, I believe, is 23 or 24, wants a top 100 prospect. And they got the last two first-round picks from the Mets. So I get it. They didn't really get the big-name prospect or whatever that you would have thought, but they didn't get a bunch of bums either. And now you look at the Indians, and I still don't hate on them, man. They still got Ramirez at third, at least for right now. They still got Bieber at the top of that rotation. They're going to have Rosario and Jimenez up the middle, which, you know, if you base it on last year's stats, doesn't look great, but those guys are still young. I don't know, man. The rotation still isn't terrible. They need some relief help, but they kind of addressed that a little bit in the last couple of trades. They got Cal Quantrill last year, who was pitching in the bullpen, did great the last little bit that they had him. They got Karinchak in there. They got Emmanuel Clace in the deal with the Rangers, I believe it was a year ago. So I'm not saying that I'm totally bought into what they're doing, but after reading about it a little bit, I'm not saying I'm hating on it either. Their farm system last year was ranked middle of the package. Most of their prospects are a little further down the line. But I think the Indians could be competitive. I'm not going to say, you know, that they're going to be on par with the White Sox. That's not going to happen. But I'm just saying I don't think I hate it as bad as I thought I was going to.
It makes sense from the standpoint of you knew Lindor was going to go anyway, so you're trying to get as much of a good package back as you can. And I guess this is the one that kind of made them pull the trigger. And if it ends up working out good for both of them, then fine. You know, I still think the Mets obviously got the bigger, better end of this deal, no doubt whatsoever. Sure. You know, they got a leadoff guy now. They got an absolute stud there at the top of their order. They got a number 2 or 3 in that rotation to go with him. What a great move by the Mets. I still think they got to make 1 or 2 more. McCann and Lindor is not the end for them. Whether or not they're going to do that this offseason or address those needs in the following year is yet to be seen. But this was a good move by them, no doubt. And I can't really talk junk about them anymore because they made this great move here. So good on them for sure. He made his first splash as a GM here. You know, getting McCann as well. But this is his first real big splash. And so they're on the right track, man. That's going to be a very interesting NL East next year with all these teams making so many moves and just doing nothing but getting better. All these teams are just trying to go for it now. So it's going to be a very, very tough division in 2021.
So hold that thought for a second. We're going to come back around to what you just said. But I gotta ask you, DJ. So there was two more rumors that flew this week with the Mets. One involving Chris Bryant, and the other one with Kyle Seager. And I'm just going to be honest, outside looking in, I don't get it. Jeff McNeil's been a pretty good third baseman for you. He hit over 300 last year. Why do you think the Mets would target a third baseman?
Well, I mean, I think maybe they're going to stick McNeil at second, and then JD Davis is kind of penciled in at third a little bit too. So I don't know if JD Davis is your guy going forward. You can stick McNeil at second. So
Yeah, I'm
that
sorry.
would be what I would do. I mean,
I meant JD Davis. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, if you're bringing one of those two guys in over JD Davis, I mean, come on, those guys are way better than him. And I don't hate on JD Davis too much, but I still think that if they're gonna go after one of those two, that would be a great move for them and even more of an upgrade. And I'm telling you, man, like if you get Chris Bryant, I understand he struggled the last couple of years, but we had a guy here who was a minor league player of the year, rookie of the year, MVP, World Series champion, all in just a short span of time. And he's still, just barely 30. So he's got some stuff left in the tank, no doubt. He's got to fix his swing a little bit, but man, if they end up keeping on going and doing something like that, David, they're just gonna totally improve their team, no doubt.
Yeah. So staying in that division, we talked last week about the Nationals. They made a big trade for Josh Bell, and then here in the last couple of days, news broke that Kyle Schwarber is also going to be going to the Nationals. So, what do you think that means? I think there's a little bit of doubt, or not doubt, a little bit of uncertainty about the position that he may play. I'm hearing that he is going to be in left and Soto in right. And we know that my Doberman plays left field about as good as Kyle Schwarber does. And so what do you think about that move?
I'm pretty sure Doberman can catch pretty good, man, and Schwarber cannot. So that's a good call on that one. Man, I think it's a great move for the Nationals. I really do. They just got Josh Bell, we talked about last week, and now they added Schwarber to the mix. It's a good team getting better, man. It really is. And if those three pitchers can stay healthy, they can compete with anybody in the rotation. So I'm liking it. I'm liking that they're making these moves and getting better offensively. And like we talked about with Schwarber, his average is going to be down, but that man can get on base. He walks a ton and he hits bombs. He drives in runs. So he's that kind of player. Dave Martinez, when he left the Cubs, told Schwarber, "You're coming with me at some point in your career. I'm going to manage you." And he called that, and it ended up happening. And Schwarber, when he was a free agent, he said it was his number one choice. When the Nationals started showing interest in him, the Yankees, as you do not want to agree with, did show a little bit of interest. I don't know why they did, but they did. That was admitted by Schwarber. He got interest from the Yankees as well. But for, I guess, the $10 million is what did it. The Nationals went pretty high on his contract for the year. I believe there's a second-year option. I'm not too sure how much that'll factor in, as if he will take that, or that's a little bit more complicated than I want to get into as far as all that works out. But definitely a one-year deal at $10 million. Great move, no doubt. He's got to play left. I don't see him playing right very well at all. He's terrible defensively, so you got to hide him in left more than right. So moving Soto to right will be a good move, no doubt.
So DJ, something that's really been bothering me is the MLB commissioner. So just today, finally, here we are, the middle of January. You got all these teams trying to sign free agents. You got free agents that need to sign somewhere. They just today said we're going to have a 162 game season.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So now owners can understand what they're dealing with regards to that, and players. But DJ, we still to this day don't know if there's going to be a DH in the National League.
Yeah.
You got to feel bad for guys like Ozuna and Nelson Cruz. Really, Schwarber, I think, was caught a little bit in that. And I wonder if the Nationals were kind of banking that was going to happen. It was definitely a good move. But how bad do you think Rob Manfred is? I'm starting to believe pretty bad.
You know what, man? And this is my time to get on my little soapbox too and call out Rob Manfred, because come on, dude. Like, what in the world are you waiting for? Like, why would you play 150 games instead of 162. That makes zero sense whatsoever. Everybody's been going through this. You got all your things in place. Make it happen. Like, do your thing, go through a normal season. I got to hand it to the NFL, David. The NFL is not perfect by any means, but from the perspective of getting everything in on their timeline, they were pretty much flawless. They had the draft like normal. They had their season like normal. The playoffs are going like normal. The Super Bowl will go on like normal. They'll even have an all-star game. And none of these other leagues are coming even close to running like they are. And I don't know why, man. And he needs to get this all figured out now because they're reporting to camp in a few weeks here, believe it or not. And there's a ton of free agents out there. And a big reason is the uncertainty. Okay, now you named 162. That's great. I'm glad you told me that. That's awesome news. But come on now. Is there a DH? What rules are we keeping? This has got to be figured out now. Like it already should have been. So Rob, let's go, man. Seriously. Ridiculous.
Honestly, this stuff should have been out before the World Series was even over. Because instead of talking about free agency and all the cool things that happen in the winter, and baseball is a cool sport, man. I mean, when it comes to that, free agency is big. I think it's better than any other sport when it comes to the excitement of signing players and that kind of thing. It's just so much different. And like I said, today, here we are. I mean, spring training would normally start a month from now, and we didn't even know if we were going to play 162 games or not. I mean, that is nonsense, DJ. It's just absolute nonsense. And I don't care. I know that the owners and the players are kind of at each other, but somebody should have had enough backbone to stand up in this situation and say, hey, guys, we're ruining our sport. And we're going to get in the Hall of Fame here in a minute. But I think you're actually right on part of it, and I'm going to say that I'm right on part of it. They've made this sport in a lot of ways just so boring. They made the Hall of Fame so rigid. And it's time for them to wake up. This deal with the Cleveland Indians and changing their mascot, we talked about that earlier. It's okay, you're going to change your mascot, that's fine. But make it something the fans can get involved in, something fun. Don't wait a year and make it, all draw out. I don't know. I just don't get it. I'll get off my soapbox. We got a lot to talk about tonight, but I wanted to just throw that in there. I just think Rob Manfred is doing a terrible job. But and this is going to kind of lead into what I want to talk about next. So Sugano, I won't even attempt first name, but he decides to go back to Japan. DJ, how bad is the situation in Major League Baseball when a guy chooses to go back to Japan over staying or over coming in the major leagues? He can basically get a better deal or close to as good a deal in Japan as you can in Major League Baseball. That's nuts to me. That is nuts.
I couldn't agree with you more. When we talked about this, David, I told you that I thought the San Francisco Giants were going to be the team that signed him. And I was right on the Giants, but unfortunately, it's the Yomiuri Giants and not the San Francisco Giants. So I got the team right just on the wrong side of the ocean, man. And I don't get it. I really don't, David. I don't understand how a lot of the experts were calling him one of the top 5 free agents out there for starting pitchers. And how do you not sign a top 5 starting pitcher and let him go? Like who does that? Like I know that
DJ? Uncertainty.
Yeah.
That's when you're trying to make a decision and you don't know how many games you're going to play.
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason, man. Why if you don't know how many games you're going to play and how much money you're going to make, how are you going to make an investment on a kind of an unknown with Sugano? And I think that's how that happens. I remember the days when the Yankees were flinging money at Hideki Irabu and Daisuke Matsuzaka, and there's no way the Red Sox were throwing at Matsuzaka, Hideo Nomo. It was exciting, man. It was something you could get behind. And I just think, again, going back to, I just think this whole thing's been mishandled. And that's how a guy like Sugano, the top pitcher in Japan, goes back to Japan over $10 million. I mean, it's just nuts. There's so many things you could use it.
He got a 4-year, $40 million deal in Japan with 3 opt-out clauses after each of the first 3 seasons to try to come back and sign again. His number 1 team that he wanted to go to was the Blue Jays. Man, I don't know how the Blue Jays kind of dropped the ball on this one a little bit, but I think it might have been just like you said, man, the uncertainty of it all. And he had a deadline. He had to do it by Thursday, and We didn't know how many games there were going to be. You know, we didn't know the certainty of, you know, are these guys going to be in labor disputes and fighting the whole season and cutting you know, that's what the NHL did. They had so much problems starting their season. They're only going to play 56 games. It's like, how did, you know, Gary Bettman's an idiot too for letting all that happen. It's like, I know they had Canada to deal with too and everything, but it's just all stupid, man. It all needs to be figured out way long ago. They should have all been taken care of when this first came out and everybody knew what was coming. You can't destroy 2 seasons in a row like this. And I'm glad baseball is not going to do it, but they definitely have messed with the free agency. 100% agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Just crazy. I mean, so many teams could have used Shigano. Jim Leland said he was super impressed by him 2 years ago. He's a good pitcher. You know, maybe not a number 1, but a 3 or 4, somewhere in there. But anyway, it's just nuts to me. So, DJ, the rich get richer. The Dodgers moving and shaking. They're getting the band back together, and they've added a few to it. So Blake Trinan is coming back. You're going to have him at the back end of that bullpen once again. They've added Knebel in there. That's interesting to me because it's kind of a Blake Trinan move. You sent me a stat today about Trinan's 65% ground ball rate. So, and here's the scary thing about the Dodgers, DJ. They're still $22 million under the luxury tax. They still got money to spend.
Wow.
So, what did you think about Trinan going back to the Dodgers?
Wow, I did not know they had much money. Oof. Okay, Turner's one of them they're going to go after, and hopefully DJ as well. But we'll see. You know, 2 years, $17.5 million. Great deal. I like it a lot. 3rd-year club option for $8 million as well. So they're going to have him around for a little bit here, and if he pitches well in the next 2 years, I'm sure they'll let him have that 3rd year as well. And he deserves it, man. He really pitched great especially in the postseason. He was really good. And I believe Gratterall is going to be their closer now. I really think they should hand the keys over to Gratterall. And then you got Jansen and Trinan and all kinds of different options for a setup guy now. I love it. I think it's a great move. I'm glad they didn't let him go. They invested in making him try to get his career back on track this year, and he did it. You know, his ERA wasn't spectacular at 3.86, but he did do a great job when he needed to in clutch games and clutch situations, which is what you look for. Sometimes you give up runs when you're out of a game, so to speak, or you're destroying somebody in the game, and that doesn't really matter as much as if you give the runs up in close games. So I think he was really good in close games when it mattered the most. Definitely a great pitcher. I was really, really ecstatic about it. 22 Ks and only 8 walks this year, a 3-3 record. He's going to be into his 33-year-old season, so he's got about 3 years left on that arm, I believe. So the Dodgers look like they may have wrapped him up for the rest of his career, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, the Dodgers are doing what they should do, man. I don't blame them at all for trying to get that team back together. I fully expect Turner to be back. I sort of feel like the DJ LeMahieu thing is just noise. Now, I think the Blue Jays are serious players there. But, I mean, if you're DJ LeMahieu, sorry to all the Blue Jays fans out there, but if you can choose New York or Toronto, where are you going to play? I mean, New York is Mecca for baseball, and you know they're going to contend every year. And you know, the Blue Jays got a good team, don't get me wrong, but are they going to be able to keep that team together? They're going to have the financial resources to keep that team together. So I know that the Yankees and LeMahieu are apart on years is what I'm hearing. But do you really want to commit to 5 years in Toronto? In 5 years, what of that team's going to be left? So that's the question you got to ask yourself. But I think that's where the DJ LeMahieu market is going. I think it's going to be down to those two unless something crazy happens and, the Dodgers swoop in. But I don't expect that to happen. I expect Turner to be back there at third. That's what I would do anyway. Couple minor signings, DJ. Robbie Grossman has went to Detroit. He's a switch hitter. Has been playing for the A's. Not eye-popping numbers. He's a big contact guy. I tell you what I enjoyed today, DJ, was reading a little bit of the Detroit Tigers message board today. So I stumbled on that trying to do some research on this move. And, I have to say, a guy made a really great point. I saw several great points in there. But, DJ, the Tigers could have had David Dahl for the same money. So if you had your choice, David Dahl or Robbie Grossman, same money. Who you taking?
David Dahl, man, I'll take him, no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, Robbie Grossman, I mean, let's just be honest with you. He he has 50 career home runs in his lifespan from 2013 to 2020. So nothing crazy. 252 career hitter. He 241, 8 bombs, 23 ribbies in 51 games this season. Only Miguel Cabrera, Candelario, and Willie Castro had more RBI than Robbie Grossman did this year for the Tigers. So I guess they're looking at an RBI kind of producing guy. And if they only had 3 guys with more ribbies than he had, this is a good move for them. They just need ball players, man. And this is obviously a little minor move, and it's big for the Tigers though. And if Spencer Torkelson comes up and a couple of these prospects stick, this team's getting there. They're not terrible. They're not great by any means, but they've got a long ways to go. It's a good move, but I couldn't agree with you more. I think that they could have got a lot better for $5 million a year. There's no doubt about that, which is the problem.
But I can't hate on Grossman. He has been playing in Oakland. That's a cavern of a stadium, so his power numbers may go up. He's not a bad player. He's normal years. He's worth $5 million. So I don't think that's debatable. But in the words of somebody on Detroit's message board, if you looked up "meh" in the dictionary, you're probably going to get a Detroit reaction fan to this move, and I can't blame him. With prices falling on free agents, I wouldn't have just waited back a little bit on that one, but
You know what though, man? Kudos to the Tigers for doing something at least. I mean, they're not going to do very much this offseason, I don't think. I mean, they've got to fill their roster, obviously, so they're going to make some more moves here. But I mean, it's a good move for them. It really is. I like I said, I wouldn't have picked Grossman out of all the guys that are still left there. But I think he's going to be their starting left fielder. So they made a good move here. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I don't hate on it too bad. DJ, the Yankees finally made some moves this week. So they made a trade and 2 free agent signings. They acquired Greg Allen for James Reeves. Greg Allen had been designated for assignment by, I believe, San Diego. James Reeves was a double-A lefty that the Yankees have talked about for a long time, but he is 27 years old. I think you need to keep an eye on this move, DJ. One thing, there's a lot of bad things that I can say about Cashman and some good things, but one thing I can say about Cashman is a lot of times these little moves like this turn into guys that contribute. This reminds me of Mike Talkman. This reminds me of Luke Voigt. Those were both guys that were just stuck in AAA for the Cardinals and the Rockies. The Yankees basically gave very little for him. And so I'd keep an eye on this guy. He's a switch hitter, very fast, good fielder. In my mind, this is Brett Gardner replacement, to be honest with you. This is probably going to be their fourth or fifth outfielder, Talkman being the other one. So I would keep an eye on this move. The Yankees aren't going to miss Reeves. He hadn't made it up. Then they also signed Jolis Chacin as a depth piece for the rotation. The Yankees need that. They need innings from somebody somewhere. And again, don't sleep on this move. They turned Sean Chacon into something at one point. They turned Sidney Ponson into something for a little while. And so do I think that he's going to, help them in the playoffs? No. But I think that he could give them some innings that they're going to need right now. The Yankees still need to sign one real starting pitcher, like number 3 starter or better. And so anyway, this could be a guy that can help them get some innings down the line. He's just on a minor league deal. And they also signed Tyler Lyons, which is a former Yankee farmhand that they traded. He had a couple of good years with the Cardinals, but it's kind of bounced around. He's going to be competing for that last spot in the bullpen, so I can't hate on it. I'm just glad to see the Yankees finally doing something. It's just been so quiet, and at least this is making it interesting. You don't have to just hear me say the Yankees are going to stare down with DJ LeMahieu, because that's all I've had to say, because that's all that's been going on. So anyway, that's the Yankees update. Why don't you tell us about the Cubs?
You got it, man. So we talked about Schwarber a little bit. Just wanted to make it official. He's obviously leaving the Cubs now, going to the Nationals. There were some quiet noises around that if, this extended a little bit deeper, he would possibly come back to the Cubs. That did not happen. Dave Martinez did come in and say, hey, I want this guy. and the GM made it happen. So he is gone. Playoff hero, absolute stud. Just made a lot of great memories for the Cubs. He's definitely going to be missed. Like I said before, I love that guy so much, man. I actually named my dog after him. Just really cool. Hits bombs, walks a lot. Uh, just just thank you so much, I guess, as a Chicago fan for all he did for us. 2016 World Series, and everybody on that team will forever be, you know, in the hearts of Chicago fans everywhere. So definitely tough to see him go when we released him. Then you kind of were like thrown, hey, he might come back, and now it's official that he's gone. So, we'll see where the road takes him down, in a few years, and he loves it here, so it's possible he can maybe come back later on. We'll see. But for now, he's with the Nationals, solidifies that lineup even more, like we talked about. So that's a tough one for the Cubs fans this week, no doubt. They also signed Nick Martini and Patrick Wisdom this week, so they had a couple guys to the on minor league deals that probably won't contribute too much. Martini is an outfielder that played in 2018 with the A's and 2019 with the A's as well. He also played with the Padres in 2019. He has 87 career MLB games, so he's actually made it to the show already. Nick Martini has 2 bombs, 26 ribbies, so we'll see if he can stick it or not. It's not sure. They're just going to stick him in the minors and just a little minor move there and kind of getting the farm system a little bit stronger in the AAA level with some guys who have had some service time and see if they can, kind of get their groove back on and play ball. So Patrick Wisdom, he came up in 2020 with us a little bit here. He resigned. He played 2 games with the Cubs this year, only got 2 at-bats in the majors for the Cubs this year, but previously had played in 2019 with the Rangers and his longest season in 2018 with the Cardinals. He had 4 bombs and 10 ribbies and batted .260 with a .362 on base. So he's had a little cup of coffee the last 3 years. He's another guy that'll stash in AAA and see where he goes. But just 2 minor moves there. The Cubs just trying to make some fallback guys in case guys go down. They've got guys with service time that can come in and play. And that's not too stupid, David. If you have injuries or, now players are going out with Corona and they're going to pull people all the time. So if you can replace them with someone on AAA who's already got service time, I mean, it's better than sometimes bringing prospects up who you have no clue what you're going to get from. So I think that these are a couple moves like that where you can pull up a couple guys if need be, if your roster starts to get depleted or you have a breakout or whatever. And it's been crazy, obviously, in other sports with all that too. So not bad moves as far as if you look at it from that perspective as well. So, and then we already talked about the Chris Bryant rumors, which I heard one thing and I don't believe it, but I heard one thing saying that it's very possible that there's a trade for Chris Bryant this weekend. I don't believe that. I could end up eating my words, but I think Chris Bryant's going to play the 2021 season with the Cubs, no doubt. So that's my opinion. If the Cubs maybe get out of it and are having a bad season at the deadline, then he's for sure gone. But if they're contending, I think he'll stick it out the rest of the year, and then we'll see where we're going from there. So I don't know. I'll pump the brakes a little bit on Chris Bryant rumors. I think Cubs fans can kind of relax on that a little bit. Hopefully I'm not wrong on that, but that's kind of my feeling going into spring training here, that he'll be with us for most of the season, no doubt.
Well, let's talk about a couple free agents to be, one of which was is a Cub or was a Cub, and that's Jose Quintana. So I've heard a few rumors on him. Honestly, he makes sense a lot of places because I think he's going to be cheap. And again, innings are going to be real important this year. A lot of teams talking about going with 6-man rotations. But I've actually heard the Cubs may be a possibility again. What are you hearing?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting, no doubt. I did not really read too much into that about him coming back to the Cubs. I keep hearing that other side of town wants him pretty bad, just to bring him back and completely win that trade by having Eloy and now just bringing Q back all the way full circle. So he pretty much got everything out of that trade and you get it back. So that's what I keep thinking. I still think he's going to sign down there in the South Side. With Kopech, I'm obviously not very high on him until he comes back and proves that, he wants to be a part of the team and wants to do something. So like you're saying, man, if you can get a 6-man rotation go in here and you have another guy in case somebody goes down or somebody goes out or whatever. And it's not a bad idea for the White Sox. They obviously have a great relationship with them. So that's everything I keep hearing about him. So, hey, I would take him back for the Cubs. I really would. I think he's got to prove it. He keeps getting all these fluke injuries and these other little things, and he hasn't been really able to stay in the rotation very much. But, if it all comes down to it, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for sure.
Yeah. So this is where I got to take a break in the episode, and we got to talk about what I'm sure is a DJ Cox man crush. So DJ sends me this list of free agents, and on that list, I'm reading down through here, and there is Bubba Starling. So I've just got to believe that there's more to this, DJ. So tell me about Bubba Starling. I had to look him up. I literally knew nothing about Bubba Starling. Zero. Why any team would want him, why he would make this list. So tell me about Bubba Starling.
The 5th overall pick in the 2011 draft, and I'm not going to lie to you, I thought he was the greatest player in that draft. He was the number one guy. I was way off. He's not even close. He's been with the Royals now for 9 years, so there's definitely a man crush going on between the two, no doubt. They love each other very much.
But he's only been up 2 real crappy seasons, though, right? I mean, like.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that you're paying attention to Bubba Starling, I mean, DJ. I had to be honest with you guys, I had to text him today and just be like, what are you doing to me? I mean, unless you had like inside sources that knew Bubba Starling personally, how would I know anything about Bubba Starling? So I did what he said. I typed in Bubba Starling rumors. Like 3 pages later, I had found nothing. Zero. So DJ, you're going to have to fill us in on Bubba Starling.
Well, I had thought he was still a free agent from everything I had read, but then I dug a little deeper into this, and the Royals did actually re-sign him. So he's back with the Royals now, which is kind of surprising. I didn't hear a thing about that. I mean, David, we could talk about DJ LeMahieu. We can talk about these top free agents all the time, and everybody kind of hears about those guys. But you come to the Frenemies episode and this podcast, you're going to hear about guys like Bubba Starling and Jordan Zimmerman. You're going to hear about what the rumors are for those guys as well. Like, we're going in depth here, buddy, no doubt.
Well, so let's just continue. So that was going to be my next thing I was going to bang on you for. Jordan Zimmerman. So Jordan Zimmerman signs he was really good with the Nationals, like really good. Now we're talking like 10 years ago now, seriously. And so he signs like a 5-year, $110 million contract with the Tigers. Complete bust. I mean, epic bust. One of the worst busts ever. So bad that the Tigers can't even release him. They're just hoping to get anything out of him. I think he had a 6-something ERA last year. And the fact that there would be any rumors about Jordan Zimmerman is amazing to me. So, DJ, tell me what's going on with Jordan Zimmerman.
Well, here's what I kind of figured out, David. So Jordan Zimmerman, as you said, is 1-13 in the last 2 seasons. Just absolutely brutal. So,
I mean, are we getting rumors for the independent league? Is that what's going on? Like, if you tell me any major league team that is on Jordan Zimmerman, I'm shocked.
So here's my own personal buzz. Like, I'm coming in as Jordan Zimmerman's agent here. All right. First off, retire. Just hang it, dude. It's time. Like, seriously. But if you don't retire, go to the Rockies, Jordan. Go to the Rockies. You know why? Because everybody that pitches in Colorado with Coors Field gets shellacked. And since you've been so awful, maybe some reason that'll help you, and you'll turn your career around, and you'll get another 3-year deal, and you'll end as a 41-year-old. So I'm calling on the Rockies to sign Jordan Zimmerman, David.
So I did find one rumor regarding Jordan Zimmerman, and that was that he may go back on a minor league deal to the Nationals.
Oh.
So keep an eye out for that. They said that they might have the golden ticket that could turn him around. I guess he's friends with not Scherzer, the other guy. I can't think his name just slipped me.
Strasburg.
Yeah, Strasburg, friends with Strasburg, so maybe they can straighten each other out. But yeah, that's as deep as info as I can give you on Jordan Zimmerman right there. Thanks a lot, DJ. You wasted like an hour of my day today trying to find anything interesting on Jordan Zimmerman and Bubba Starling.
Hey, the people of this show that watch are very much educated now on the things of Bubba Starling and Jordan Zimmerman, man. You know, we got to go deep on this free agent list and find some guys that, you know, we didn't talk about because people need to know where these guys are going to end up, man. We don't need to always talk about LeMahieu and George Springer. Bring me the bottom feeders as well, man.
So moving along, here's an actual name that people will recognize: World Series hero Kike Hernandez. So I've been reading a little bit that good chance he goes back to the Dodgers, but there is interest from the Red Sox and actually a lot of teams because of his versatility. He can play all over the place. Are you hearing anything new on Kike Hernandez?
So I'm hearing the Dodgers too, but here's the problem, David, with Kike. He wants 500 at bats. Okay. And are you going to get him 500 at bats? No. If he comes back, he's going to play the exact same role that he played before, which is where he excels. He did amazing. He was a big part of the World Series title. He was awesome. There's no doubt about it. So what I'm kind of throwing out here, David, and I really believe that the Marlins could use him. I'm just throwing this out here. Imagine him on the Marlins. He would get his 500 at bats. He would fit in there well there. He's a World Series champion. He's a winner. That's what the Marlins need right now. They need somebody like him to come in and play for them. With all those young guys that they got, he would be a perfect fit with the Marlins. The Marlins have not made very many moves at all this offseason. So go get Kike, man. This is what I'm calling for them to do is that I really feel like he'd be a great fit. I really hope the Dodgers re-sign him. But I don't think so, man. If he wants 500 at bats, I really don't see him coming back, unless the market's just completely dry for him, which I highly doubt will happen. So,
yeah, that would be awesome. Kike to remain on a contending team. The Marlins are up and coming, but and the Red Sox. The Red Sox could be a fit. They don't really have a second baseman right now. Chavis can hit, but he's got stone hands. So I could see that fitting as well. And I'm telling you, I think the Red Sox, unless their GM just screws it up, I think the Red Sox could be dangerous, man. I really just believe that they're just a couple pitchers away. Their lineup's good enough. I did see a crazy rumor. Did you see where Benintendi's on the trading block supposedly?
I just saw that today.
DJ, I don't hate that. And I know Red Sox fans are screaming at me right now. Is there a more overrated player than Andrew Benintendi? I'm being dead serious. I'm as serious as a heart attack. I'm not saying that he's not, an average player, but I think Red Sox fans have them, as homers. We can all fall in love with players that it's just really not there. I don't think it's there with Benintendi, just to be honest with you. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong. I know he's had his moments, but he's pretty average. If you just look at his stats, not taking into account who it is, he's been a pretty average player. So anyway, I just thought that was very interesting. And you know how I feel about the who's the guy that they signed last week? It's going to play right.
Renfroe is causing all this, David. You got to find your spot for Hunter Renfroe. So if Benintendi's got to go, then Benintendi's got to go. You got to make Renfroe, baby.
Real quick, a couple other updates. Jock Peterson. So Jock Peterson's been rumored several places. Actually, he was rumored. I saw a rumor connecting him and the Nationals at one point. I've seen him connected to the White Sox at one point. Where do you think Jock Peterson could end up?
So I've heard the Astros, the Cardinals, and the Braves are in on him. They've shown interest. I think the Astros feel a need here with Brantley moving on. Tucker obviously is going to be in their full-time rotation now, but Reddick's a free agent too, so you lost two outfielders. So why not stick in Jock? And this is another thing too, David. If you could add a Jock Peterson, and not saying that he's a DH necessarily, but if you could get a guy that's like an outfielder and you could put one of those other three outfielders in the DH spot, it makes even more sense. So I'm gonna stick with that Astros one because they need a couple outfielders, and this would be a great move for them to go and get a bat like that. He cannot hit lefties. He struggles really bad with that, so that's why he didn't play full time with the Dodgers. But he will definitely be a good fit for the Astros, so I'm gonna call that on him.
Yeah, I don't hate the Braves either. Losing Ozuna, they lost Adam Duvall, so they have a couple holes there to fill as well. Jock should probably come pretty cheap, and he does hit bombs. He does hit bombs, and so, like I said, this is one of those players where the DH thing I think is really hurting his market because, like you said, a lot of National League teams could think in the back of their mind, well, we could play him in the outfield a few days, but mostly DH, and he fits in that a lot better than he would playing every day in the outfield. Sin-Soo Choo, quietly been a stud. He last couple years haven't been so great, but you think some team could take a flyer on Sin-Soo Choo, hoping for a comeback from him?
Yeah, he'll be 38, and he's made no secrets he's not wanting to retire. Um, he just came off of a 7-year, $130 million deal with the Rangers. Wow, what a contract he got. Best player to come out of South Korea, though, is what they're saying. So that's pretty impressive when you're the best player ever in a country, man. So really, really great career as far as that goes, no doubt. But why not, David? Why not go where it all began for him, back to the Mariners? The Mariners need to make a little move here, and they could use a Shin-Soo Choo for a year. I mean, they're not really going too far. They had a good year this year, but you had a bat like that in your lineup, and I think he comes full circle and ends his career where it began with the Mariners.
I think Sin-Soo Choo still has something left in the tank, to be honest with you, DJ. I think, for real cheap, somebody could get a really good player. He is a lot like Schwarber in that he gets on base a lot and probably doesn't get lauded for that as much as he probably should. He's been playing on a team that is basically the polar opposite makeup of him. You know what I mean? They high strikeout, home run guys. That's not really who Choo is. And so I'd like to see a team take a flyer on him. I actually respect Choo's skills. The Mariners are up and coming. They can make some noise, so I could understand that move. Renato Nunez had a great year last year for the Orioles. I was shocked that they let him go because it really wasn't even for that much money. I saw today where they thought they may re-sign him for a little less money. What are you seeing on Renato Nunez?
So, like you said, he had 31 bombs and 90 ribby in 2019. That's a great season. Now, he's got his flaws. He's not greatest defensively, and he does strike out a lot. But he knocks in runs, David, and that's what the game's all about, scoring runs and knocking them in. So he had a great year. He's on the cheap. I'm thinking the Brewers might sneak in here on him. They're going to lose a couple guys. They need a corner infielder. You could definitely see a player like him fitting into this lineup for sure. If I were the Brewers, I'd be all over him for the cheap to get him in that lineup. And you got Yelich there, so you're not completely dry. Their future looks somewhat bad with their minor leagues, but you plug it in with a guy like him to go with this lineup where they're trying to win a little bit. They got a great manager, so they're kind of hanging in there every season. So I like the Brewers for signing Nunez, no doubt.
For that cheap of money, I'm thinking the Orioles let him go for less than $1 million. That is nuts to me because, like you said, great bank. And speaking of the Brewers, let's talk about your favorite player, Ryan Braun. So where might Braun end up? He did hit 8 bombs last year, DJ. Is there a little bit left in the tank for Ryan Braun?
He wants to play, I believe. So I honestly don't know how in the world you don't end your career with the Brewers. I really don't. I want to see it. I really do. Not from the standpoint of that I'm sentimental about him by any means because he's one of my most hated players in the game by far. But I would love to see the Cubs play against him. He's great to have, that rivalry with the Brewers a little bit. You look at guys like Braun and you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna go kill the Brewers because they got Ryan Braun and just faces like that, and it makes it fun. It really does. And I hope like guys like Yachty goes back to the Cardinals and Wainwright and Braun goes back to the Brewers to keep these rivalries moving. And, no, why wouldn't the Brewers just sign him for a year or two and just end him, end his career there? Unless he's asking for a ridiculous amount of money, then I'd let him walk. But if he wants to end his career, on something that they can handle and go back to the Brewers, I completely see him going back there. I don't see him going anywhere else. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was reading up on Braun today. I actually had the exact same thought. Man, finish it where you started. They've paid you millions and millions of dollars. If that means playing on the cheap, then do it. For their fans, he's been their guy, and it stinks to see your guy go somewhere else and either do it or or not be successful. I always think about Ichiro. I it stunk seeing Ichiro not in a Mariners uniform. I mean, even though he was a Yankee there for a minute, we had him in the decline years. Man, I'd like to see Ichiro be able to retire in Seattle, and that's just an example. So I'm totally 100% with you. Braun needs to stay in Milwaukee and try to get it together one more time. And again, this DH thing could really help him.
Yep.
Really help him. Help them.
Let's go, Rob.
Yep. Need to make it happen. You got to make it happen. Let's see here, DJ. We to finish up our segment on baseball this week. Really sad week in baseball. So lost a couple people. One guy in particular, very recognizable. A lot of us, our first memories of baseball involved Tommy Lasorda. I can remember my very first memory of baseball. I can actually remember this for some reason like it was yesterday. I was real young, but it was Fernando Valenzuela pitching. I was probably 5 years old. And we can all remember Tommy Lasorda, the 1988 team with Oral Hershiser and Kirk Gibson. But he died this week, 93 years old, huge personality in the game. And something I didn't know, DJ, was his ongoing feud with the Philly Fanatic. Were you aware of that? I mean, I guess it was a real thing. Like him and the Fanatic were on the outs. Did you see all that this past week?
I could not possibly laugh harder at something than when the Philly Fanatic comes out on that four-wheeler with a little doll like Tommy Lasorda, and he sticks his gut out, the Philly Fanatic, and Tommy Lasorda is ticked and comes out of that dugout, and he is kicking and punching and doing everything to the Philly Fanatic, man. Unbelievably hilarious, man. It is so funny. And the thing that makes it even more funny is Tommy's face the whole time is like serious, man. He's not laughing. Dead serious. Awesome. The Philly Fanatic to me is the greatest mascot in baseball. There's no doubt about it. He's absolutely awesome. And so for this to who better to pick on than Tommy Lasorda, man? And who better to come out there and make it even more fun than him as well? So that was awesome, no doubt.
Yeah, that was awesome. Great manager. DJ, I was looking at his stats, and not that I'm dogging on his managing skills at all, but it just shows you how different baseball was than it is now. Now the Yankees, for instance, let Joe Girardi go after 4 seasons of great managing and let him go. Tommy Lasorda, I believe, was 21 seasons and won the World Series twice in 21 years. And I'm believing he won the pennant maybe 4 times.
Yep. 4.
And so now, just to be honest with you, that's probably not, a successful manager. They probably would have got rid of him nowadays. But kudos to the Dodgers for keeping him. What a great ambassador for the game. Definitely going to miss him. And every once in a while you would see him on TV at the Dodgers games even now. And but a life well lived. And crazy thing, I had no idea Lasorda was a pitcher growing up. I had no idea. And he's one of these guys that lost 2 years to military service too. Did not know that, and I always respect that. But Tommy Lasorda, that was a life well lived. He'll be sadly missed. DJ, we also lost this week George Spriggs, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about his career.
Yeah, sure, David. Let me circle back a little to Tommy here for a second. I just wanted to say, man, like he to be honest with you, he's like my favorite manager of all time up until Joe Madden, when he won the World Series for the Cubs, kind of overtook him a little bit there. But, when we were growing up, you didn't know too many managers. We knew of Pete Rose that was managing at that time when we were little, and Tommy Lasorda and Whitey Herzog and all those guys. And Don Zimmer was kind of the guy for the Cubs there for a little while. And but man, this is a guy that just, what an ambassador for the game, for the Dodgers, just 1,599 career wins. This is heartbreaking, man. I saw a picture of him this week. when he passed. It was awesome. It was of him going into the corn at the Field of Dreams, man. Just kind of gave you chills a little bit. Unbelievable, man. Just so funny, just so great. Like everybody that talked about him this week was all positive and how great and how much he meant to them, and just unbelievable. And I'll tell you this right now, David, that 1988 team that he led to a World Series title, to me, is the single biggest underdog of a team to ever win the World Series, at least in our lifetime. I don't think I can name a single team that was probably more of an underdog than those 88 Dodgers, man. They had no Hall of Famers, although they did have Don Sutton, who was 42 at the time in his last year, but he didn't contribute too much that season. So they had one Hall of Famer on the roster. The rest of those guys, man, are not Hall of Famers, are roid guys, so to speak. So to win a World Series with no Hall of Famers, just one kind of at the end of his career, and no roid guys, to beat the mighty A's of all teams in the World Series that had like three or four, maybe even five possible Hall of Famers on that team. Just crazy, man. They took them down. They took the Mets down in the NLCS. They were not the favorites. The Mets were just coming off the 86 World Series and were still really good in the 88 season. They were highly underdogs against him as well. So he had a big part of that. He really did. A lot of things that he did. You know, he called on Kirk Gibson when he probably shouldn't have, but he made that gutsy call, and that ended up swinging that series in the Dodgers' favor. Just a true Hall of Famer, man. Absolutely awesome. So I'm just, and in 2000, he led the United States Olympic team to a gold medal. He's quoted as saying, I know not a single one of you, but they're going to know who you are by the time this is over, and let him do a gold medal. Really awesome. I also remember a lot of times, man, some of the funny things is when Vladdy let his bat go in the All-Star game and knocked him over. That was awesome, man. And then, just he's speeches where he's got his gut out there and he's fiery and he's just letting it go, and just awesome, man, and truly one of the greatest managers of all time, in my opinion. And he'll definitely be missed, and rest in peace, Tommy. That was really tough to hear, no doubt. So I will transition to you now. So it is George Spriggs, who died this week as well. It was him and Tommy Lasorda. George Spriggs played 5 MLB seasons from 1965 to 1970, 65 to 67 with the Pirates. He's not in the majors again in 1968. And then he finished his career in 69 and 70 with the Royals. He played 130 career games, had 1 career home run and 12 RBI. His batting average was 191, 266 on base. For his slash line, he's the only Royals player to go from the Negro Leagues to the majors, so that's kind of cool. He spent 2 of those Negro League seasons away as a member of the U.S. Army, so he also served as well, so that's really cool. So, David, his career is going to get a boost as well now. So since the Negro Leagues announced, the MLB announced the Negro League stats will now count, he's one of the guys that is going to get a boost. That 1 career home run should probably go up a little bit, and I don't know how much is going to go up for the positive, but it definitely will. We'll add his Kansas City Monarchs stats to his career totals as well. And so he ended that career with the Pirates, had a hard time getting into their lineup full time. Well, David, here's the reason why. Roberto Clemente, Bill Verdon, and Willie Stargell were their starting outfielders at the time. You ain't playing in that lineup. Sorry, buddy. And their 2 up-and-coming outfield prospects were Al Oliver and Manny Mota. So he had no chance of really sticking around. It's kind of a miracle he made that Pirates team with those 5 outfielders. So kudos to him on even being on the team, man. So rest in peace. He was 83 years old, George, for sure.
Yeah. So, DJ, let's transition into what we've all been waiting for. I wanted to get all that out of the way so we could talk about the Hall of Fame. And, DJ, I wanted to kind of start out, since we're talking about the Hall of Fame, talking about our different philosophies. Obviously, they're way different. And I'm going to be honest, I stumbled across a quote. I sent it to you this week that perfectly describes the way that I feel. And I actually found some other quotes. Again, I had no idea any of this. I've just always felt this way. But this is from Buster Olney, okay? This needs to be said again and again. The Hall of Fame is a baseball museum. A baseball museum. It's not the House of the Holy. Also from Buster Olney on why he voted for Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Alex Rodriguez when they come on the ballot. It says, unless the writers who think differently either explain their clairvoyance in knowing who did and who didn't do steroids, or B, they admit that they are totally fine with voting for steroid users who manage not to get caught, I can't see any other way to approach the matter. DJ, that is my philosophy 100%. If you ignore the steroid era and the best players from it, you are leaving out a huge part of history that's going to be taken away from you. Taking your little kid to a baseball museum, not a church, not the house of the holy. A lot of these guys that got in the Hall of Fame were dirtbags. Ty Cobb was a dirtbag, DJ. A lot of them cheated in a lot of different ways. But why the steroid users get picked on so bad, I just don't get it. Because, again, it's a baseball museum. And if you want to put on their plaques, they were used steroids. But, DJ, if you had to bet your firstborn child that Tim Raines didn't use steroids or that Jeff Bagwell didn't use steroids, could you do it with 100% accuracy? The answer is no, because there's no way to know. So that's why I feel the way I do about the Hall of Fame. And to me, just being straight about it, if you take Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and all those guys out of the Hall of Fame, you're taking a lot of people's my age's heroes from the Hall of Fame who put up way better stats. And several of those guys would have been Hall of Famers anyway, and we're going to talk about that. You're taking those out and just leaving them behind. And over time, honestly, I've come around on one of your main points, which is that the Baseball Hall of Fame should be like the Football Hall of Fame and let, number one, more guys in, and number two, let them in quicker. So I'll agree with you there. But I'll never, ever, 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 ever understand how anybody could leave a whole era of players, the top players, out.
Okay, so I will now go on my rant here so you know how I feel about this whole situation here. So I totally am the opposite as you as far as the steroid guys go. I will never once knowingly vote for anybody who did steroids. I will never vote for them to go into the Hall of Fame. Are there guys that are in the Hall of Fame that I believe are steroid guys? Yes. Does that stink? Absolutely. So from the standpoint of if you let one in, should you let them all in? I get that argument. I really do. But I can't justify any of it, and I'm not going to put these guys in. I really am not for that at all. You cheated the game. I don't care if you were good before you cheated the game. You still did something totally illegal. And people always make the argument with me, well, it wasn't illegal in the game. It's illegal in society. So how is it not illegal in baseball? It makes no sense whatsoever. You cannot use steroids.
Using cocaine's illegal. Beating your wife's illegal. You know what I mean?
But
hey, doctrine of baseball is illegal. Doctrine of baseball is illegal in baseball rules. Stealing signs is illegal in the way the Houston Astros, they got caught in it, and we saw magically Jose Altuve sucked this year. Wonder why? He didn't have any idea what was coming. And so it baffles me, DJ. That argument just baffles me. Because again, some of the best things that ever happened in baseball happened with these guys. And in a baseball history museum, you're not going to put Sammy Sosa in, who saved baseball. You're not going to put the all-time home runs leader in. That just boggles my mind. It just boggles my mind.
Do you honestly, David, here's where we're going to fight. Do you honestly think that Barry Bonds would have broken Hank Aaron's home run record if he had not taken the juice? Do you think he would be the home run king right now?
I don't have any way to know, but I'll know this. He for sure would have been a Hall of Famer anyway. So if the record is what you're hung up on, and it sounds like it is, he still was a great player, DJ. There's still a whole lot you could say about Barry Bonds and not even get to that. I mean, the most intentionally walked guy. I mean, the guy was baseball for the last 10 years of his career. You could not tell the story of baseball and leave his name out unless you want to talk about freaking Tim Raines and several of the guys on this list that we're getting ready to discuss. And again, this goes back to baseball being boring. You're going to just ignore like it didn't happen a whole time in the history of baseball because they weren't as holy as these other guys were when you don't even know. Look at some of the steroid users. Rafael Palmeiro didn't have the big head and the big old huge muscles. Andy Pettitte sure didn't have them. So you have no way. And several admitted users have admitted it was in every locker room, all of them. And so a bunch of these guys that got away with it are getting in, and the best players who happen to get caught are leaving out. And like I said, it's a museum. We don't leave Civil War history out. We don't cut slavery out of it because it sucked. Although a lot of people on both sides are trying to write it out. You don't leave it out. It's a part of the history. And you can say that about a lot of things, in American history. You don't just leave it out because it was a bad time. You talk about it. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. And let's jump into some of these players.
Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire are never going to break the single season home run record without steroids. It's all fake, David. It's all fake. You can
But it's a part of the history.
You can beat your wife. You can do all those awful things. None of that helps you become a better baseball player. Steroids do. Performance-enhancing drugs help you hit a baseball farther, harder. They help your body recover quicker. They help you stay on the field. They help you hit the ball longer, farther. They help your batting average go up. They help everything on your body become better. It's fake. It's cheap. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer without it. So was Roger Clemens. Sammy Sosa never would have sniffed a Hall of Fame ballot if he didn't take steroids. Mark McGwire would have been awful because he strikes out too much and hits like 220. He never would have hit that many homers. So, no, I'm not for any of that stuff that enhances the performance and makes these numbers fake, David. They're all fake. Am I going to be able to catch every single one of the guys that did this? No. Jeff Bagwell's got a lot of things on him, and I voted him in because I didn't have anything clear that I thought was damning on him to get into the Hall of Fame. So just not going to vote for any of those guys.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get in here. So you put in the Hall of Fame list, you put Pete Rose's name, who's not eligible, by the way. Now, do we know everybody that gambled on baseball? No, we don't know. But, he got caught, so we can't put him in. So, you disagree with that one. But the all-time hits leader and the all-time home run leader are currently not in the Hall of Fame. So I definitely think for sure Pete Rose should be in there. I think right on his plaque, the same as steroid users, it should be known that he bet on baseball and that it was illegal. But he's one of the most famous players in history. I definitely think he should be in the Hall of Fame, and it's ridiculous. And again, Rob Manfred, if you want to make a difference in baseball, make it more exciting, this would be all over the news. You could wipe out every headline basically that's going out there right now with MLB, with the NBA and NFL. So if you want to make things exciting, for Reds fans, Phillies fans, let Pete Rose in.
Pete Rose did not bet on his team to lose. If he would have bet on his team to lose, then he would not be eligible to make the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. He bet on his team to win, which is still wrong, obviously. But if it does not affect the competitiveness of you as a manager because you're betting on your team to win, then to me, that's not as great of a sin as betting on your team to lose where you're throwing games. That becomes the unpardonable sin, unforgivable by all means. So Charlie Hustle never took a playoff, hustling all the time. The hit king, 4,256 games played, 4,256 hits. He's also the games played king at 3,562. He's a plate appearance king at 15,890. Is the at-bats king at 14,053. He owns 4 major career records right there. 10 times over 200 hits in a season. Honestly believe they will let him in when he dies. I really believe that. The Reds from 1963 to 1978, Phillies from 79 to 83, the Expos in 83, and then back with the Reds 84 to 86 as a player manager, which is really cool. 303 career batting average, 375 on base. 16 times, David, he hit over 300 in his career. sixth all time with 2,165 career runs scored. Let him in. Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose. I give him a big yes as well.
And for all the clowns that think it's okay to let him in when he died, just let him in. I hate this stuff of, well, on his eighth chance, he might get enough of a percentage vote. That's how the Hall of Fame works. You got 10 years to get it, and they'll let there's hardly been anybody unanimously selected. Either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. Quit screwing around. That stuff drives me crazy. Pete Rose should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. Next guy on the list, Roger Clemens. 139.2 wins above replacement, 354 wins, 3.12 ERA, 4,672 strikeouts, 10 top 5 Cy Young votes, 1 MVP. He won 7 total Cy Youngs, 118 complete games, 46 shutouts. Supposedly, he became a steroid user upon arriving with the Blue Jays, which there was a definitely marked improvement in his performance at that point. If he did use steroids at that point, it definitely extended his career. But DJ, if we want to use your barometer, 10 dominant years, no steroids. He had them.
Oh, he definitely he had many seasons of dominance. 15 seasons. I almost can't believe you didn't go with your number one stat here, David. He had 15 seasons over 200 innings pitched. That's the one you drool over, man. So this guy was on the field, and he was on it very late. 84 to 96 with Boston, 97, 98 with Toronto for the Yankees for 1999 to 2003, Astros 2004 to 2006, and then back with the Yankees in 2007 to end his long career. Obviously, David, in 24 seasons, that WAR is off the charts, unbelievable. Obviously, if you're letting the steroid guys in, it's got to be a yes. There's no doubt about it. I refuse to let him in. I'm voting no on Roger Clemens. It stinks too because honestly, he's one of the best 5 pitchers in our lifetime, in my opinion. He's a top 5 guy for sure. There's no doubt about it. But I can't do it. I refuse. And if you're letting the steroid guys in, and if I was letting the steroids guys in, he would have been a first ballot. He would have already been way in. We wouldn't have had this discussion. But a lot of people will agree with me, David, and the majority is going to speak here that says, keep him out, let him out. Well, I shouldn't say the majority. I guess you could say about 40% are saying no and 60% are saying yes. So I guess the majority is for him. So I am in the minority on this, I guess. I refuse to let him in. David, what are you doing with him?
Oh, he's in by a long shot. You summed up my feelings. He's a top 5 pitcher in our lifetime. You have to let him in. Again, we're telling the story of baseball. It's a museum. It's not a church. So he's got to go. His similarity scores, there's 10 of them that Baseball Reference puts out there. All 10 Hall of Famers. Dude's a Hall of Famer. Next up, a lot of argument I can feel coming right here. Scott Rowland, 70.2 wins above replacement, which is above the high water mark that supposedly you need to get in. He hit 316 homers, batted .281, 2,077 hits in 17 years. But DJ, I'm not letting him in. And let me tell you some reasons why. He only finished top 5 in the MVP one time. He did win 8 Gold Gloves. 45th career all-time in defensive WAR, which is great. But his similarity scores are guys like Matt Holliday, Paul O'Neill, Sean Green, Bobby Bonilla, Aramis Ramirez. Out of 10 people in those similarity scores, which basically are players similar to him career-wise, only one Hall of Famer, which is Ron Santo. I just can't do it, DJ. It's just not enough for me. I think he was a really good player. Not every really good player should get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he was great. I can tell the story of baseball all through the 2000s and never say Scott Rowland's name. So that's why I can't let him in the Hall of Fame.
So a 7-time All-Star with 2,077 career hits, was a Rookie of the Year in 1997. David, he's got 8 or 9 dominant seasons, so he's short in my opinion as well. But David, man, here's the thing. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not voting for him. I'm a big no on him as well. But he's trending like he's going to make it, David. He's at 50% already. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, this is his third year on the ballot, if I'm not mistaken. Second, maybe third.
I don't know. It's crap. That's crap to me.
He's getting a lot of love at third base, David. There's a lot of people that are saying his defense matters a lot, and they're going with that. And combined with the 2,000 hits and 300 homers, they think that's enough to put him in. I'm not there, man. I'm really not. Is he borderline? Absolutely. I'll give him that. He makes you take a second and third look at him. There's no doubt about it. I really did have to look at him a few times. There's some guys where you look at them once and you can say yes or no automatically. There's some guys that make you stick around and check on them every year. And I had to look at them again this year and, break them down. And what's all the love for? What am I missing here? But I don't know if I'm missing too much, man. He's in the Hall of Good. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Very close. Great career, really was. But like you said, man, you can tell the story of the 2000s without Scott Rowland. And that's a big factor as well.
So the next guy we're going to talk about actually had a similar career. But I'm probably going to be putting Todd Helton in, just to be honest with you. And let me tell you why.
Ooh, yeah.
He has less wins above replacement than Scott Rowland.
Which is crazy. Well, the defense, I guess. But I don't know. Still, though.
He doesn't have what I would normally consider the home run numbers that he would need to get in as a first baseman. He also only had one top 5 MVP, same as Scott Rowland. But here's why I'm letting Todd Helton in. DJ, did you know he's 33rd all time in runs created, 19th all time in doubles, 18th all time in OPS. His similarity scores are Jeff Bagwell, Edgar Martinez, Vladimir Guerrero, Orlando Cepeda, Jim Rice. Let's see, those are all the Hall of Famers. The rest would be Luis Gonzalez, Andres Galarraga, and Larry Walker, also a Hall of Famer. So 7 or 8 Hall of Famers out of 10. I tend to let Todd Helton in.
I'm glad you have finally come around on him because me and you have argued about him for a little bit. And David, there's just no way you keep a guy like this out. I don't understand it. He had 2,500 hits, which is just shy of the magic number 3,000. I get it. 369 bombs, 1,400 ribbies. David, his 2000 season, he hit 372 with 147 RBI, 42 homers. And the next season, he had 49 homers with 146 ribbies, a 336 batting average. He had a 316 career batting average, 414 on base, 539 slugging. 12 times in his career, he batted over 300. 12. That's amazing. What a hitter. He had the 10 dominant seasons. Give me a hitter like this all day long over a guy that prolongs his career and spreads it thin and gets the numbers, the magic numbers. I'll take a dominant guy like he was for those years he played. But you know what, David? Here's another thing too, man. He had 3 Gold Gloves. He was 6 times he led the first baseman in fielding percentage. So he's no dog defensively as well. So I'm not sure where the WAR for Scott Rowland goes above Todd Helton. Kind of blows my mind there from that perspective. But so he's great defensively. He's a 4-time Silver Slug Award winner. And like you said, he gave me the numbers too. He's also 27th all time in on base percentage too. So based off of where you said he ranks in those other 3 categories, come on, man. This guy's got to go in. This has got to happen. Todd Helton is no doubt a Hall of Famer, and I'm glad to see you came around on him.
Well, here's going to be the argument, and this is the argument that I had previously. Barry Bonds would have hit 150 home runs playing in Colorado in a season. And you can say that a lot. Scott Rowland might have been a career 300 hitter in Colorado. So there is a little bit of an effect here, similar to steroids, that you might say is a little bit of an unfair advantage. He played in a place where they actually had to stick baseballs in a humidor to keep them from flying out. So for that critic, what do you say?
Well, it's not really necessarily his fault that he plays for the Colorado Rockies. I mean, I know he can make that choice, but and you're playing for a major league team, and the MLB decided to put a team in Colorado at the Mile High, and it's not his fault. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He just played for the Rockies, and you know, I get that. You know, his numbers are definitely inflated a little bit by that. There's no doubt about it. Like, you can hit a ball farther up there, you're going to hit more homers, no doubt about it whatsoever. But I don't think you can hurt a guy's career just because of where he played. You know, then you're kind of taking away the Yankees hitters, because a lot of those guys are hitting 300-foot pop-ups to the right field corner and hitting homers all the time. So you can look at that as well for these Yankee guys and say, man, that short porch is crazy. These guys are hitting balls that are so like normal fly balls in a lot of stadiums, and they're going out. So you can go like that till you're blue in the face on all the different stadiums and how, you know, how different they all are and who had to hit in tougher stadiums. And would he have hit that many home runs in Detroit Stadium? No way he would have. But you know, the thing that gets me is his batting average, man. 12 times over 300, dominant. You know, and I'm not sure that was helped a little bit too by Coors. There's no doubt about it. It just had to be, but it's not his fault. So he's a Hall of Famer.
All right. So speaking of New York, let's talk about my boy Andy Pettitte. 256 career wins, 385 ERA, 4 top 5 Cy Young finishes, 3-time All-Star. His 162 game average was 17-10 with a 385. He was the 01 ALCS MVP. He's 62nd career in WAR from pitchers, 45th career in Ks, 42nd in wins, and the all-time postseason leader in wins. Similarity scores are mixed. Several Hall of Famers and several that aren't. Sabathia Mussina, Cologne, David Wells, and Jack Morris. I am putting Andy Pettitte in.
So you mentioned all the stats I was going to mention. He's one of the best lefties that we've saw in our lifetime. There's no doubt about it. The postseason on him makes him great as well. When you put up postseason stats like that, that matters. What a career, no doubt. Can't do it for the steroid reasons. Not voting for Andy Pettitte at all. But if you were one of those people that are going to put steroid guys in, I would vote yes, no doubt. But since the steroids came into play, there's no way. And, you know, since you take that stance, David, I'm glad to see you think he is a Hall of Famer. Those are great numbers. I mean, when you have 100 more wins than you do losses, that's very impressive. With an ERA under 4 in the American League that dominates with hitting and the DH for all those years. Unbelievable. It's just a shame because he's a Christian guy and a great human being. There's no doubt about it. We all make mistakes in our life. His was performance enhancing, unfortunately, and I can't vote him in.
Okay, next guy on the list is Billy Wagner, 6th all-time in saves. Let's see here. His similarity scores, I didn't write down a whole lot on him. K-Rod, Jonathan Papelbon, Joe Nathan, Randy Myers, John Franco. He's 19th, I believe, if I can read my writing here, 19th in career WAR among relief pitchers, I believe is what that is. Again, 6th all-time in saves. Only played 15 seasons. His last season was very dominant. I think he had like a 173 ERA his last season, so he kind of went out on top. Billy Wagner is a tough one for me, DJ, if I'm just being honest. You know, in a closer, longevity does matter. And I would tend to lean in on Billy Wagner. But the question becomes, is Jonathan Papelbon a Hall of Famer? Is Joe Nathan a Hall of Famer, DJ? Because they're pretty similar in where they ended up. I believe, without looking at stats, K-Rod probably is a Hall of Famer. He's way up there in saves. I saw a list today of the top 10 relief pitchers of all time. And Wagner made the list, but he was further down on the list. So tentatively, I'm going to put him in. He would not have made my ballot this particular year because of the guys that are still on there, and you can only vote for 10. And so down the road somewhere, I'm probably putting Billy Wagner in.
He's in. He's a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about it. He is one of the best closers of all time. If somebody puts you on a list of top 10 closers of all time, you got to be in the Hall of Fame, man. I'm sorry.
Well, here's my problem.
Top 10 guys of all time.
Here's a little bit my problem with that, because again, top 10 closers of all time. But how long have we really had a closer? Since like 1985? DJ, was Billy Wagner ever, his entire career, ever the best closer in baseball? Was he ever the best closer in his league? So there's my problem. There's my problem.
Sure. Who's better than the national? I mean,
Trevor Hoffman, ever heard of him?
Who?
Trevor Hoffman, ever heard of him?
Yep, you're right. But to say that you're going to keep somebody out of the Hall of Fame because they were overshadowed by two of the greatest closers of all, those probably are the two greatest closers of all time, is very unfair to other guys who dominated at the position as well. Just to say that they're not as good as the number one and number two guy to do that all time is definitely not fair. Billy Wagner was unbelievable. One of the things that's really cool about his career is I believe he used to throw right-handed up until a certain point, and then somebody turned him over to throw left-handed, and he dominated and threw 100 miles an hour left-handed, which is absolutely crazy.
I never heard of that.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened to him. What a great career. There's no doubt whatsoever that he's a Hall of Famer in my mind. I vote yes, Billy Wagner.
All right. So the last part of this list are guys on the outside looking in, let's be honest, but guys that had nice careers. And, going through this list, one guy that I think I underappreciated was my boy Shane Victorino. He played for the Red Sox there for a minute. I learned to hate him because of it. But looking back at his career, Shane Victorino, DJ, was a really good player. 31.5 WAR. He only had 108 home runs. He only batted .275. But good fielder, good base runner, switch hitter, if I'm not mistaken. He won 4 Gold Gloves, 2 All-Star games. Similarity scores are Jacoby Ellsbury, Roberto Kelly, Brian McRae, Al Martin, Bob Skinner. No Hall of Famers on his similarity score list of 10. But a nice career. I couldn't put him in. This would probably be the only year he'd be on the ballot, but a better career than I had remembered.
2-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glover, 2-time World Series champion with the 2008 Phillies and 2013 Red Sox. He had a really good career. There's no doubt about it. He was a good player. It's just nice for these guys to be on the ballot and mentioned. It's kind of, hey, look at me. Take a look at my final stats a little bit here. He's not going to last other than this first ballot here. Unfortunately, it's kind of tough for these guys. But I think for some of these guys, it's a little bit of an honor. There's only 25 guys on the list this year. You got to be at least somewhat good to be on the list. So he's on there. He had a good career, but definitely vote no on Victorino.
All right, DJ. So the next guy on the list is Michael Kadire. And I was trying to pull up something here real quick just to verify that I am correct on this. Give me just a second. Yes, I am correct. So Michael Kadire, 17.8 wins above replacement, 197 career home runs, 277 average. He made 2 All-Star games, 1 Silver Slugger. But DJ, to show you what Colorado can do to a guy's hitting numbers, DJ, did you know that Michael Kadire won a batting title?
Yeah, I did actually. In 2013, he did.
So for all you Helton haters, I kind of get it, man. You go to Colorado, boom, I'm hitting 331, 277 career hitter. Colorado makes me a 331 hitter. The only time he'd ever even come close to it was that year in Colorado. Not a Hall of Famer, not close, but again, nice career. You could definitely come up with a lot of spots where you heard Michael Kadire's name. He was a killer there for the Twins for a little while on some good teams. Good career. Just don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy.
1,522 career hits. He's about halfway there. About 200 career homers and about 800 ribbies. So, like you said, good career, but not great. 277 career batting average. Just worth mentioning. Like you said, it was a lot of fun watching him play with the Twins. He was one of the guys that you you feared in that lineup when you played against him was Kadire for a few years there, no doubt. Good career. Voting no on Michael Kadire.
Yeah. Next up, Dan Herron. Dan Herron is one of these guys that really started out, I don't want to say on a Hall of Fame pace, but he was definitely considered an ace at one point in his career, I believe with the Cardinals. He won 153 games with his no slouch, 3.75 ERA. If I'm not mistaken, injuries kind of ruined his career. He had 2013 Ks. He did win a Cy Young, 3 All-Star teams. Similarity scores, again, the Hall of Good here. Jake Peavy, Doug Drabeck, Irvin Santana, Andy Bennett, Scott Sanderson, no Hall of Famers. Great career, DJ. I'm sure you were glad to see him go away from the Cardinals at one point, but not quite a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah, so his K to walk ratio, he was a 3-time leader in that category, which he struck a lot of guys out and was very, very good with not walking people. As a matter of fact, David, this is kind of a cool stat. Among non-active pitchers, he is the only pitcher with over 2,000 strikeouts and less than 500 walks in MLB history. So that's pretty awesome to have that as your stat. You were in control of the game. You had pinpoint accuracy, which is awesome. No doubt about it. He was a great pitcher. I did not want to see him pitch when he was with the Cardinals, like you said. It was kind of a nightmare when he was dominating there for a little while. He posted double-digit wins in 11 of his 13 seasons, so he really did have a good career. Like you said, the injuries derailed his career. He could have been a lot better. I think he would have been on a pretty good path there. When he was with the Diamondbacks as well, he was a really good pitcher, really feared, really good. And then he kind of became a journeyman and ended his career with a lot of different teams. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he ended his career with the Cubs, kind of went out with them. And so he was a good player, no doubt, but just definitely not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Lastly, DJ, AJ Burnett, former Yankee, very frustrating pitcher when he was with the Yankees. You would see flashes of dominance that we saw with the Marlins, that we saw again later with the Pirates, but very frustrating. So 164 wins. I had no idea he had that many. 3.99 career ERA and 2,500 Ks, and that is an accomplishment. 2,500 Ks, 3,000 is kind of the Hall of Fame line. So he wasn't really that far away from that. He's 38th career in strikeouts. His similarity scores are Barry Zito, Javier Vasquez, Kevin Millwood, which again, those 3 guys were at different points in their career aces. Mark Langston, 0 Hall of Famers of the 10 on his similarity scores. AJ Burnett had Hall of Fame stuff. He just could not get it all put together at the same time. What'd you think about AJ Burnett?
Yeah, he had a lot of injuries in his career too. He was a member of the 2003 Florida Marlins team that won the World Series. He also was a member of the 2009 Yankees team. He won Game 2 of the World Series for them as well. So he's pitched in a lot of big games over his career. Unfortunately, he was not a part of that 2003 World Series team as much due to a big-time injury there, but he was still a part of that team. 17 seasons, like you said, his first year on the ballot. I don't know. He might be one of those guys that sticks around and will not get kicked off the first time. I think he should stick around and at least not be kicked off the ballot right away, because those K numbers are pretty high with 2,500. That deserves not to be kicked off the first time, in my opinion. You gotta look a little deeper into this. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer by any means. Don't get me wrong, but to just kind of shoo him off is a little tough. With the career that he did put up there, double-digit wins, 11 of his 17 seasons. One-time All-Star, which was actually his last season, was the only time he made the All-Star game, which is crazy to me. He did throw a no-hitter in his career as well. 7 games above 500 as a pitcher, 164 wins, but I'm going no on AJ Burnett.
And for you guys out there that love baseball, if you've never seen AJ Burnett pitch, go back and watch him, man. Nasty. He could throw up to 100 miles an hour. Just a killer hook, man. A killer hook. I can see why the Yankees spent all that money on him, but 164 wins, just not going to do it. So,
Not quite there.
nope. Well, DJ, I guess that wraps it up for episode. A lot of fun. I had a lot of fun looking into Hall of Fame statistics and stuff, and great episode. So I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. As always, this episode brought to you by the White Sauce. Make sure that you get on Facebook or go to whitesauce.org. Get yourself a bottle of this. Good stuff, no doubt. You can put it on anything. Thanks, Coach Hall, for all that you do for us in our careers, and we're definitely trying to promote Coach Hall's White Sauce. So hopefully you can get out there and get you some of that. David, so next week we'll be back at it. We'll try to maybe get a guest on here to talk a little bit with us, but we're definitely going to continue with the Hall of Fame. We got about 8 more guys to do next week. This has been a lot of fun, so we'll get those ballots filled out for you for the day on January 26th when they will announce who will go in with Walker and Ted Simmons and Derek Jeter. So we will see who's going to join those guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. But, David, I appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun. Good talking to you again. And all our viewers out there, have a great week.
See you guys.